Hey guys, hello YouTube, hello everybody coming into chat. I might not wait long for people to get in the chat, like play a song or anything. It's still February 25th, 2019. This is your boy Kyle. I made a video today, not a live stream, on my other program, and it has something in it like for 10 seconds, 10 seconds from a documentary. And the YouTube didn't like restrict it, it just shadow banned it so that it uploaded, but it's only partially visible. So like it's been a couple hours, like 3 hours, and I only got 5 views on it. So I was like, what, what's going on there? Because I usually get a pretty good amount of views in the first couple of hours of putting my videos out. And so I'll share my screen with you guys, but I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and play the video that I did today, and then just jump ahead in that part that was copyrighted, because I know exactly what part. It totally, I mean, like totally invisible to everybody, so people can't see it. But yet YouTube still says I uploaded it. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do a live stream, share my screen, and show the video over. I'm just gonna end it when it ends, guys. But you guys chat in the chat room and watch this. It's about kind of the parallels between Scientology, fair game, bull baiting, and what we go through with gang stalking. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I want to show y'all. I have a bunch of windows up, so bear with me. Here it is right here on my page. It's partially, this video is found to contain copyright materials. As a result, it has been blocked in some countries and or regions. It's really blocked. Like, I don't know if even you guys can see it. So I'm just going to do this live stream and play it again. And take out that part. So okay guys, so here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and start it and get the whole screen. Good morning, guys. It is 10 o'clock. It's about 10:15 a.m. Central Time where I am. This is your boy Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. Start date February 25th, 2019. I hope everybody's doing okay, or relatively okay, having some relative comfort. I just recently had my birthday. Turning 25 is tough. You're getting old. Actually, I'm, turned 38. Time is just going by so fast, wasting it on, this targeting nonsense. But I hope all you guys are doing well. I wanted to make a video because I haven't made a video in a while. I was spending a lot of time with my family this weekend and didn't mention targeting much. I actually went to 2 birthday dinners. My parents brought me out for one, and then with my grandma, and then me and my brother and my parents went out for another dinner. And it was good. I love my family, and we had a lot of fun. And Sunday, I actually helped my grandma. My favorite food is chicken and dumplings. And I actually made some with her. Like, she's just the best cook. Cornbread dressing, chicken and dumplings, gumbo, a bunch of southern dishes, and it was really nice. And I just try and, for anybody who's dealing with this and you really love your family, I've gotten to a point where I just hang out with them. I hang out with my family. I try not to talk about this. Sometimes it kind of slips out. We'll be talking about surveillance or, technology in the world, not, like the other night we were sitting around the table and my dad said something about surveillance, and I said, well, you know, they're setting up a grid so basically they can surveil everyone in every location. I mean, that's kind of what they're going for with 5G and the microwave towers, and smart meters and everything, and cameras on phones and cameras on the computers and everything like that, and also heavy metals and nanotechnology that we're all ingesting and that's getting on our skin, basically covering everything so that there's a grid system set up where they can surveil everybody. My dad was like, "Oh, you're depressing me," and I kind of, I was like, "Oh, well, it's dancing on my head every day, so I have to deal with it. I have to think about it," which is kind of ironic because I think he is being targeted very heavily too, but he won't admit it. And if he is, I get a heavy vehicular stalking when I go out with him. And they either do that, they may not be vehicular stalking him and stalking him when he's alone. He may just be being hit with the neuro weapons, but they do it heavily either because he is getting vehicular stalked and gang stalked without me, like where he lives in Florida, and then when he comes here, it happens to him here, or they're trying to get me worried about that. Because I do worry about that. And then it was like, I guess I don't want to get too much off on the negative stuff, but the other night, my brother once shot a gun too close to his ear. He has permanent tinnitus in one of his ears. And my grandma, and I'm pretty sure it's just the tinnitus from that, but I can't, I worry. I worry about my family because it is just a thing with this targeting. When your family members, they will either try and get them to help target you, and in the case of my family, my family would just never do that. So I think if they know your family's probably not going to do that, then they just target. They end up targeting them just because they're close to you, because that's the easiest thing to do. They're surveilling you. So, by what's the word? Just by proximity, and it's easy to kind of pick another target in your family. And they also are trying to target people and see the same kind of genetics, because DNA genetics is a big part of this, how certain genetics react to certain things. Genetics in relation to neurological function also is one of the experiments and protocols they're trying to find stuff out about with neuroweapon experimentation. I'm getting way off track. I just wanted to say I had a good birthday, and I hung out with my family, and I love my family. And my brother asked me, at dinner, had a great steak. We went to TJ Ribs, and my brother paid for it. It was like a $30 to $40 filet mignon. So I'm lucky to have a family like that, and he's making good money. He works for a federal court actually, and then my parents, my mom's retired. Well, anyway, but he was like, "Hey, so what's going on new, bro?" And I've talked about this with him a lot before. But I kind of got to that point where he's like, "Hey, what's going on new, bro?" And I was like, "No, nothing much. And we just talked about, his house. He's getting, I guess they have to fix parts of his house. And we just talked about, it's not trivial things to people who aren't going through targeting. But to me, it's just like, wow, the things that people talk about, they're so trivial compared to what's really going on in our society. But I enjoy time with my family, and I love them, and it was good. So I had a good birthday. Was still targeted all the way through, and I've been targeted very hard, lately, especially because it was around my birthday and my family was in town, so they wanted to. My attackers wanted to target me very, very hard, so I guess I wouldn't go hang out with my family or something. But I pushed through. I woke up and I was just feeling it was Sunday. I woke up at about, don't know, noon or something like that, and I ended up going over to my grandma's house, but I was just like all torn up. I could barely think. And my mom like texted me and was like, "Hey, come make chicken and dumplings with us." And I was like, you know, I'm not gonna be like, no, I can't go. I'm just gonna push it. I'm gonna push it and go hang out with them, because my grandma keeps saying, you know, well, this is the last time I'll be with you for your birthday. And, you know, she's having health issues. That's one thing that really was worrying me. And I'll get off to this because I have a lot to go through. I have a lot of subject matter today. But she was talking, when my brother was talking about his tinnitus in his ears, she was like, yeah, I get ringing in the ears and it comes and goes. And I was like, Grandma, when did that start? And I could not get a straight answer from her. She was like, yeah, I had it for a while. The ringing comes and goes, and she's having all these health problems and infections she has to take prednisone for. And I'm like, you know, as a targeted individual, they will attack. She's almost 90 years old, but they will attack a 90-year-old woman. It's, you know, no thought about it being unconscionable or anything like that. This program would attack her. I'm hoping that it is not. I'm hoping my dad is getting it. You know, I'm hoping he's the only one, because I'm sure of that. I hope they're not attacking my mom, but that's one of the hardest things. You just don't know, like, because you're being targeted so hard, you didn't do anything, and then you know your family's close to you, and you know they have certain things going on that are kind of weird. And you're just like, are they being targeted? And it's a huge, just not being able to do anything about it, and they're not going to listen. You know they'll kind of entertain what I'm saying about myself. But you know, they'll never ever believe that this could happen to them. You know, at least my parents, and that's a struggle. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about it, so I'm just gonna hang out with them and love them, and then hopefully more will come out about this, and you know, we can make this go away. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. The connection, like I've been playing video. I've been trying to multitask lately, so that I'm not paying attention to the B2K, so that I'm not paying attention to the pain and like the pain that my nervous system is going through and stuff like that. And so I was, watching a lot of stuff about Scientology. Excuse me, guys. You know, Leah Remini came out with that. I hope this is picking up sound, because I had to open the program as administrator because my attackers made it so I couldn't open this program. So I figured out a way to open it as administrator, and I hope it's working the same way. What was I saying? So Leah Remini, I don't know how long ago it was, but she's making that show Troublemakers, because she left the Church of Scientology. And I think we all know, like, I've made some videos like when this first started, because, you know, I've seen stuff about Scientology before targeting. But when I was targeted, you know, I came across some stuff on YouTube, and I was like, man, the things in Scientology are really running. There are just so many parallels in Scientology, you know, to targeting, to the gang stalking, to the PSYOP protocols, and you can also kind of parallel the thinking of people who do the gang stalking, and also probably the people who do the microwave weapons and the neuro weapons who actually work them. You can kind of parallel it with members, not exactly, but the members of the Scientology Church do incredibly horrible things. Because because they're in a cult, they're indoctrinated. So there's just lots of parallels. It's a huge subject to get into. I might do another video too, but I wanted to go through. I think I'm going to call this video, gang stalking, Scientology, fair game, bull baiting, and indoctrination. So I'm just going to show some things that I've been kind of looking at. And one cool thing is you see so many people coming out now and speaking out about Scientology and all the abuses. And it really should not be a church. I mean, because it was made up. It was made by a guy who said, "Hey, if you want to make money, start a religion." He even admitted to a journalist who called him kind of one night when he was feeling very truthful, and he told the journalist that he's making it all up, but people still believe it and still follow him. He also had a quote, and I want to get these quotes. I might go more into L. Ron Hubbard on my next video. I don't know. I don't know. But this, I just needed to show because I wanted to turn something that, you know, I've been kind of looking at and you know, feeling like, oh, wow, what Scientologists are doing in fair game and how they're indoctrinating people. And it's a kind of a mind control and using people and abusing people and human trafficking, the Sea Org and things like that. It really connects to how I feel about all this targeting and all these PSYOP protocols. Basically fair gaming people. It's almost like, well, you know, I'll talk about that later. Let's get into it. I'm going to get into it and show you all some videos. I'm pretty sure everybody, you know, because I've made videos before on fair gaming and bull baiting. Bull baiting is something that gang stalkers will try and do to us. You know, maybe sometimes not as directly. Maybe some of you guys are getting direct bull baiting where people are trying to make you angry. But it's just like, you know, my maintenance guy calling me the wrong name. It's gaslighting, but it's also bull baiting because he wants me to get angry about it and say something like, well, that's not my name. And so I look, you know, crazy or whatever. So there's tactics, there's psychological tactics in fair game, and following people around, you know, false flagging them for crimes they didn't commit. There's all sorts of things Scientology does that, and I'm going to try and get more evidence. Well, let me start it off, but you guys kind of understand there's some parallels there, and so I wanted to kind of bring out some things about the subject. So let's begin. I'll stop babbling. I am 38 years old, so I'm mature now. So let's watch this video, and I may stop it to comment or play it all the way through. Kind of got a bunch of stuff I want to show, and I'll wing it. Hopefully, if they do copyright strike my video, it'll just be demonetized and not stricken from YouTube, so nobody can see it. We'll see. And they did, guys. So that's why I'm playing this. If you just came into the live stream, they copyright strike me for like 20 seconds of this video. I'm going to get my editing stuff. I just don't have my editing. I haven't been paying for an editing program, and I've got to kind of get something. I don't have any editing software ready right now. So I'm just playing this through, because they copyright strike me for like 10 to 20 seconds that I showed from a documentary, and then blocked the video so nobody could see it. So it like shows is uploaded to me, but nobody can see the video. So that's why I'm playing this through again, guys. If you just came into the live stream, hopefully I can get it. Hopefully I can fast forward it at exactly the right time and not get any of that part, so they don't copyright strike me again and then shadow ban the video. YouTube is that's completely ridiculous, and they did it within like the first, I get right when the video uploaded. That the algorithms or whatever had already picked that part out in the video, and I know exactly what part it is. So you guys are watching something from earlier today that I tried to upload, that I uploaded, and exactly like I thought, and I knew it. I knew that they were going to copyright strike me, but I thought that it would just demonetize it. They actually made it unviewable in like all countries. So let me myself continue and let the video continue. This is confusing. Because because I kind of want to show part of a movie. I'm going to show like 10 seconds of it, of this documentary.
Stupid
I'm a little
Kyle.
bit worried that my whole video could get taken out, but we will cross that bridge when we get there, which is kind of
we're crossing that bridge.
Scientology, go up the bridge. Freedom.
Can you see that? Like, I knew it. I knew it was going to happen, yet I still did it, just thinking it could get through. And now we're crossing that bridge, guys.
Whatever you pay, $500,000 to $1 million to maybe even more to get. But let's begin.
D.C. sentenced 9 persons to prison terms of up to 10 years for a variety of crimes. A couple of months ago, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. sentenced 9 persons to prison terms of up to 10 years for a variety of crimes to which they had pleaded guilty, which may not sound unusual on the face of it, except that these 9 were among the top leaders of a religion, the Church of Scientology. Along came an unknown group calling itself United Churches of Florida, looking for a place to settle. Well, it turned out that United Churches was in fact the Church of Scientology, and that initial deception infuriated these citizens of Clearwater. Their former mayor, Gabe Cazares, was bitterly skeptical of the church.
L. Ron Hubbard has stated that Scientology is extremely wealthy, that it has the money to buy cities and even countries. That destructive cult has to know that sparkling Clearwater is not for sale.
The mayor continued his attacks, and for his pains he was placed on the church enemies list. They set out to smear him with sexual innuendo to ruin him politically. I read to him from a church memo, culled from documents we acquired in our investigation. The purpose of this operation is to actually get real documentation into the files of Mexican License Bureau or bureaus, stating that the mayor got married in Mexico to some Mexican gal 25 years ago, who is not his wife, so puts the mayor in a position of bigamy. This can be accomplished either by a bribe or a covert action. So what you're saying was that they were trying to destroy your character, assassinate your character.
Without question.
Reporter Betty Orsini was doggedly pursuing the story of the church's undercover campaign in Clearwater. So the St. Petersburg Times wound up on their enemies list. Scientologists stole files from the paper's legal offices. Its reporters and editors were harassed. Only, says editor Eugene Patterson, only because the St. Petersburg Times was covering a news story.
That's all we were trying to do. Find out who they were, what they were up to, so that we could inform the community.
What about the reporter who was involved in the investigation?
First, they slandered her to me in an effort to compromise her job.
Slandered her?
Saying she was printing lies, that she was not giving their side, that she was being unprofessional. After that, they went after Mrs. Orsini's husband. He heads up a small charity here in St. Petersburg, Easter Seals. He's the executive director. And once they found they could not get Betty Orsini off the story, or get the St. Petersburg Times off it, the next thing we knew, an anonymous letter, a poison pen letter, charging criminality to Mrs. Orsini's husband, landed on our city desk and that of 2 or 3 other newspapers in Florida. The man was innocent, and I think they thought that we were some Bush League newspaper that they could scare out of the box.
Paulette Cooper wrote a book back in 1971 called The Scandal of Scientology.
Now, the Scientologists did not want you to read this book.
They tried to silence her. The so-called Guardian's Office of the church cooked up a scheme to steal some of her stationery and make it appear that she had sent the church office 2 bomb threats. I read from one of the forgeries. James, this is the last time I'm warning you. I don't know why I'm doing this, but you are all out to get me. I'll give you 1 week before Scientology is an exploding volcano. I'll knock you out if my friends won't.
And as a result, I was arrested. I was indicted on 3 counts. I faced up to 15 years in jail if I was convicted. The whole ordeal fighting these charges took 8 months. It cost me $19,000 in legal fees. I went into such a depression. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't write. I went down to 83 pounds.
Another church plot against Cooper was named Operation Freakout, intended to get her placed in a mental institution until she stopped writing about Scientology. Church officials even launched a graffiti campaign against Cooper.
They put my name up on walls in New York City where I live with my phone number so people would call me. They put my name on pornographic mailing lists so that I would get all kinds of disgusting mail. You see, for years I was saying that these types of things were going on. And people thought, well, what is she talking about? This is a church. And finally, after 11 years, I see that everything I said was true and that Scientology turned out to be worse than anything I ever said or even imagined.
The two church leaders went on to explain that those attacks were made only in response to perceived threats to the existence of the church. You set out to smear Gabe Gazaris, the then mayor of Clearwater, smear him with sexual innuendo, harassed his wife on the telephone. The Church of Scientology. You must admit, if I lived in Clearwater, if you lived in Clearwater and weren't a member of the Church of Scientology, you'd say, what in the world has this got to do with religion?
I think that part of we, the guardians of it, fell into the arrogance of the end justifies the means, which is wrong and alien to Scientology.
After confessing wrongdoing by church officials, the church.
And see, like that church head was lying because, you know, L. Ron Hubbard had a policy called fair game, and if anybody is considered an enemy of the church, they can be cheated, they can be litigated against, they can be even harmed, and it's called fair game. They can be followed, surveilled. So that's what fair game is, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, you know what that is. They actually have a policy, and even, you know, if somebody is declared an SP, a suppressive person, you know, they can also be fair game. They can be, you know, false flag for crimes, break-ins to their house, people harassing them, people tailing them, you know, in cars and things like that. And it really just, you know, I'm going to look into this more, and I'm pretty sure that it's not. Now, I'm sure it's not a coincidence. It's not a gang stalking having parallels to fair game is not a coincidence. I'm just not sure if, you know, because there was Operation, what was it, Operation Phoenix, that did the same sort of things and things in the Eastern Bloc, and you know, type of gang stalkings or Z-Song type things. But I think that the agencies that do this, like DHS Fusion Centers now, and other agencies like private security contractors and things that are doing this for the DoD, they have pulled the best practices from all these things that have gone on throughout the century, you know, and before. Best practices for psyoping, for harassing a person, for destroying their life. And I think that they got a lot of what they're doing to us, to target individuals, from fair game. Either they cooperated with the church and got certain information, you know, studied what the church was doing, or indirectly just studied what the church was doing without the church's knowledge, and then used it for their programs. So I'm very sure it's not a coincidence. But let's continue.
Till now has insisted that the church's founder, L. Ron Hubbard, had nothing to do with such methods. So I read from a Hubbard policy letter. If there will be a long-term threat, you are to immediately evaluate and originate a PR campaign to destroy the person's repute and to discredit them so thoroughly that they will be ostracized.
That I have never ever seen an issue, and I'm familiar with this documentation. I have never seen such an issue.
Well, have you seen that?
Yes. Yes. Now this in this form is.
May I see it just a second?
Yes.
It says here, don't ever tamely submit to an investigation of us. Make it rough on attackers all the way. You can get reasonable about it and lose. Banish all ideas that any fair hearing is intended and start our attack, the Scientology attack, with their first breath. Never wait. Never talk about us, only them. Use their blood, sex, crime to get headlines. Don't use us.
Yes,
that's
yeah.
Your man.
That's right.
It was apparent that although the two church leaders
that the church of Scientology, like if you ever see any of the Scientologists where they go and they film some of the members in Florida you know, they'll go up to him and ask him about Xenu, and they'll ask him about the church and stuff like that. They'll ask him, you know, why did the church, fair game, Paulette Cooper, and then there's many other instances. Huge topic. There's a lot of awful things the church has done and is still doing. David Miscavige, he's now the head of the church, and his wife is missing. If you go, like, I go into my YouTube and I put where is, and it's Shelley Miscavige is her name. This where is, the first thing that comes up is where is Shelley Miscavige, and nobody knows where she is. It's been like 20 years, and nobody knows if she's still alive, if she's doing all right. So the church has done horrible things. But if you talk to anybody in the church, or even lower down people, what they'll do is they'll be like, what are your crimes? What are your crimes? What did you do? What did you do? They always turn it on you. And that really reminds me of our attackers, gang stalkers, and the people who use neuro weapons on us. Because, I mean, I haven't done anything, like I'm innocent, but they pretend that you're guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty. Attack to destroy a person. Cult mentality of just do whatever it takes to protect us when it's just attacking people. It's attacking people for no reason. But let us
seemed eager to plead guilty to church wrongdoing. They apparently have not communicated any comparable sense of guilt to these church members. You say that ethics are very important to a Scientologist.
Very to me.
Well, then please try to help me understand it. The ethics involved in trying to smear the mayor of Clearwater, in trying to get the job of the fellow who runs the St. Petersburg Times. All true and all acknowledged. In the name of religion. Doesn't that make you say, hey, my religion would do a thing like that?
In the name of survival of a religion, if these people are trying to knock the religion down, what do? Sit back. I mean, look, this is not the first persecution of a religion.
And you really believe that Gabe Cazares and the St. Petersburg Times and Paulette Cooper were trying to destroy Scientology?
Right, I do.
Therefore, you commit crimes going after Paulette Cooper. You forge letters that bring her up on federal charges that she's going to be a bomb thrower. You destroy her name. You indulge in sexual innuendos. A church does that, Mr. Pennington?
Well, I was not informed about all this.
You read?
No, I don't.
You know what I do when I read that kind of stuff about Scientology? I don't even read it.
Why?
Because it doesn't interest me. Let the people who have to handle it. Because I have too much to do, and I can't be bothered with that kind of stuff. Let them handle it.
But these are people.
We will survive.
What you seem to be saying, in effect, is to Clearwater, mea culpa. We were wrong. Our shame. Now let's move ahead. Exactly.
There was a time if you were worried about your son or daughter being in a cult, you could get help from a small nonprofit organization called the Cult Awareness Network, or CAN. For 20 years, the nation's best-known resource for information and advice about groups it considered dangerous. Among them was Scientology, a church not known for turning the other cheek. Cynthia Kisser says the church's final assault on CAN began when hundreds of Scientologists from around the country wrote virtually identical letters asking to become members of CAN. Included among them was this model letter with instructions to be put in your own words. Fearing, she says, the church was out to take control of CAN, Kisser denied their applications to join. CAN was then hit with a barrage of lawsuits by individual Scientologists claiming religious discrimination. I got hit with 12 suits in 1 week. In all, CAN was hit with more than 50 lawsuits. Even though most of the suits were eventually dropped or won by CAN, she says the cost of defending them, nearly $2 million, drove CAN to the brink of bankruptcy. Today, CAN is under new management. Last year, a member of the church bought CAN's name, logo, and hotline number in bankruptcy court.
Isn't that weird? So Scientology bought Cult Awareness Network. So now when people call about Scientology and say you're talking to a Scientologist, But that's like what Scientology does, is even if they're not going to win the case, they hang people up in litigation that costs so much money that, you know, that even if they lose the case, they still have taken up the person's time and, you know, drained them of all this money. And that's what that's one of the things that they did to Paulette Cooper. And the operation was called Operation Freakout. And it's like basically they had a secret arm of the church, you know, doing these things to Paulette Cooper. And I'm going to go more into that. Let's finish this out. But I mean, now CAN is owned by Scientology. So if you call CAN to get help with, you know, cult, even if it's not Scientology, they're just going to try and get you into a cult, Scientology. So it's just, I mean,
for $20,000.
Hello, Cult Awareness Network.
Now when you call looking for information about a cult, chances are the person you're talking to is a Scientologist.
Okay, so continuing fair game, and you know, that went over Paula Cooper. Trying to think which one I want to go to first. Let's go to this one. They talk a little bit more about fair game.
You know, when I pull up, like in this video I did earlier today, when I pull up the windows, the documentary actually shows in those small windows. I wonder if I'll get copyright, a copyright strike for that. I hope not. Man, I feel targeted.
And then I want to go to an interview with Tony Ortega. Tony Ortega is a good person to look into, and I think that if you don't know a lot about Scientology, I think a lot of targeted individuals do, because you know, we kind of like see it and we're like, oh, well, they follow people around, you know, they harass them and things like that, and then they're indoctrinating people once they get into Scientology. And I mean, it's such a huge, they do so many things that are wrong, and it's just a huge subject. But it's, you know, I'm kind of drawn to things like this, where it's like, you know, where if somebody like a targeted individual is like, how could people do this? What's happening to us? I'd say, check out Scientology. Look at what people will do. Look at like what people will believe. Look at what people will believe, and then because of that belief, how crazy they can get. You know, so I think it's a good thing. And I know mostly targeted individuals watch my channel, which hopefully, you know, that's changing. Hopefully more people are looking into this. But I think that people who don't know about targeting and gang stalking, you can better understand gang stalking by looking at Scientology and looking at fair game practices. So like targeted individuals in America and other countries, it's basically fair game. The gang stalking portion and the psyops portion of it are basically a more dangerous. Scientology got pretty dangerous and did dangerous things, but it's kind of like a worldwide system, organized system to fair game people. They label, you know, innocent people, innocent citizens. They label them whatever label they need to, and then you know, the community says, okay, we can fair game. We can follow them around. We can you know, harass them and do that kind of stuff. So the similarity is striking, and I 100% don't believe it's coincidental at all. Okay, so this is going to talk a little bit more about fair game. Yeah, and then I kind of want to, and then I'll go to that interview with Paulette Cooper, because then they actually infiltrated her life with people that she thought were her friends, which you know, targeted individuals know all too well about. But let's watch some of this. Some of this has to do with Narconon. So so I'm gonna try and skip around to the important information. But basically, I think the information at the beginning is kind of way off. Let me read that for you guys. I was reading it, so read that to you guys. Spoke to the police again since blank on the internet. Too many prank phone calls. A few days ago, a woman at the end of the street taking pictures on the corner across the street. I realized now she was. I realized now she was taking them of me, was crossing street, and she ran into blank when I was going over to her. I don't know what the blanks are, but Scientologists will, take cameras and stuff and surveil people and try and get information about them as they're following them around and as they're harassing them. Sometimes Scientologists will use overt harassment, where they want the person to know they're being watched, which targeted individuals get overt harassment. I don't know. I get overt harassment. A good percentage of targeted individuals.
Guys, when I'm saying overt harassment here, I mean overt surveillance. Every time I say overt harassment or covert harassment, I mean overt and covert surveillance. I do correct that towards the end, but I say it a bunch of times.
Get overt harassment. I think if you're getting state-of-the-art mind control, you'd maybe get covert harassment when they're trying to get information out of you. But Scientology does overt and covert harassment, where they want the person to be intimidated, they want the person to know they're being harassed and followed, and then sometimes they do covert harassment, like recently. I don't think it was that recent, but the leader of the church was doing covert harassment to his own father, who had left the church. So David Miscavige was doing covert harassment to Ron Miscavige, and I think he was paying the people doing the covert surveillance. Did I say harassment? Sorry. Covert surveillance. I think he was paying him like $10,000 a week to just covertly surveil his father and get information about him. So it gets really, really weird. People get really, really weird, So this is posted March 17, 2014. Scientology's Narconon. Car stalking. So this is vehicular stalking of somebody who I think tried to leave Narconon, or was just, I don't know, maybe they had something against Narconon while driving a Scientology car. So possibly Scientology and or Narconon poisoning someone's dog and following them for 10 to 15 miles towards the vet. Police are now following them, soon to be questioning the purpose. Maybe their vehicle was a poor choice. Maybe they used that vehicle because they wanted the person who they were stalking to know, and to, freak them out, intimidation, intimidate them. This I know a lot about, right? For targeted individuals, it's very familiar.
Jesus, just let your imagination run wild, because...
Okay, I want to stop it for a second. I guess I'll save this for the end, but at the end, I kind of wanted to go into the indoctrination. There's this very interesting case. It's fascinating, darkly fascinating, of this guy named Fishman, who the Church of Scientology was trying to get to kill himself because there were like legal troubles, and it was going to be a whole big problem for the church. And I'm trying to think, but I wanted to say something. I completely forgot it. So let's just move on. Well, what I wonder now, I'll just throw this in right now. I wonder about, Scientology surveillance tactics. And then I think about, the new equipment, the new electronic surveillance equipment, see through the wall, remote neural monitoring and things like that. And I wonder if the church now has access to this technology. I do wonder that. I don't wonder if I'm being stalked and hit by Scientology. Maybe there's some targeted individuals out there who are, but that's kind of what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if nowadays they do use this modern equipment to hit people and fair game people, and maybe that's why we do still hear about fair game. But that's kind of something that I'm rolling around in my mind. It's like, I wonder if they have been able to get their hands on any of this. I think that all of us target individuals, it's the organized kind. So the largest percentage of us, it is, organized. It is these contractors who are working for the DoD and the Pentagon. It's for the research and experimentation. It's too organized. It's 24 hours a day, all the time. It takes a lot of money to do that. But Scientology does have that kind of money. They may be doing it to a certain percentage of the people in the population. I wonder about that. That's just a theory. I'm going to be looking for more evidence in connection with, because I'll show you all something today after this, but let's move on. I don't want to babble on too much about stuff that may come up in these videos.
We were allowed to do that. It's like anything you could think of was basically okay. Fair game was a policy letter written by LRH, I guess, in mid-60s, I think. And it was a fundamental geopolicy. Fair game meant that Scientologists could do anything to an enemy of Scientology. Didn't matter what it was. You could actually physically harm the person. You could lie to them, sue them into poverty, destroy the person's reputation, or destroy them physically if you wanted to, with no repercussion on the Scientologists for having done it. That's what fair game means.
Scientology is willing to spend any amount of money they need to. They don't care how much it costs. The purpose is not to make any money on the litigation. The purpose is to silence the critics. There is a directive written by Hubbard, which is called the Special Zone Plan. And in that directive, he orders Scientologists to get themselves jobs close to powerful people in politics, in the media, in whatever sphere of influence they can get themselves into.
Ladies and gentlemen, 10 years ago I gave a speech here in Hamburg. That speech was called The Dark Side of Scientology, and it can be found on the internet if you're interested. In that speech I said that Scientology could be reduced to three fundamental concepts: power, purge, and punish. Power referred to the goal of Scientology to clear the planet and eliminate all opposition to Scientology. Purge referred to Scientology removing all critical or negative documents and information from government, files, and public accessibility. Punish, I said, was the darkest of all sides of Scientology. It took two forms: an internal Orwellian form of eliminating dissent, critical thought, and an external form of punishing critics, uncooperative government officials. Copyrighted policies of terror and psychoterror for the handling of the present. Persons who impede or oppose Scientology's objectives. loosely called fair game. They can take different forms: intelligence, investigation, intimidation, litigation, fraud, and deception. These 6 forms of Scientology fair game are the principal means with which the Scientology enterprise uses, exploits the United States system of law for its own ends. Next came the Scientology Public Investigations section, and in 1966 these Scientology departments were merged into the Guardian's Office, the Church's very own intelligence agency. It handled public relations, litigation, intelligence gathering, and the like. The Intelligence Bureau not only conducted black ops, but it also engaged in intimidation and worse, what has been properly classified here in Europe as psychoterror, and even terrorism, being perpetrated by a California-based religious corporation calling itself a church, which now numbers about 50,000 or less members worldwide. Falsely inflated membership claims are part of the fraud on the public.
But the abuses, the human rights abuses, is the main thing. People that were patients there had paid $23,000 to go there. And
So
if they broke one of the rules,
this goes into Narconon, and a lot of people have actually died from it. There's a lot of things going on with Scientology. I don't want to really go over that today. I want to see if I can find that next part on fair game. Okay, here we go. And we might move on. I want to move on to the Paulette Cooper stuff. So we'll listen to this guy for a second.
Where it said that we weren't supposed to do anything illegal. I became aware in the course of my training that things were being done that were illegal. I went to the Deputy Guardian for Intelligence U.S. It was Terry Milner. I said, some people aren't following this policy. They're doing things that are illegal. And he knew about it. That's what I found out. He says, yeah, I know about that. And I, out of fear, did not take it any higher than that. I just dropped it. Because I figured if he knew about it, then the worldwide knew about it. And I figured Mary Sue knew about it. And I couldn't imagine her withholding anything from Ron. I figured he must know about it too. So if I make any waves up lines about it to try to get that activity stopped, then I would be dog meat. As far as the Intelligence Bureau's handling of people, there's an issue. I don't think it has a title. Nobody signed it. Not any kind of a formal issue. It was just typing on a piece of paper. My impression was that LRH had written it, because I can't imagine anybody else in the organization writing this and getting away with it. It would have been pounded into the dirt for having written it. The overt data collection was just stuff that was publicly available through public records, telephone books, library information, court documents, traffic tickets, you name it. We checked every possible source, voter registration records, just everything you can think of. Then we had a general picture of the person. We knew who his relatives were, who he was connected to, where he worked, all that kind of stuff. That came from overt data collection. Then we go into covert data collection, which was essentially, probably getting a spy in on the person and trying to find out what kind of misdeeds the guy was up to. What are this guy's crimes? What is he doing? Is he cheating on his wife? Is he, taking drugs? Is he doing anything else that broke any kind of a law whatsoever? That's what we were looking for. I don't know the details on it, but it was causing a public relations flap when people were labeled fair game. So a issue came out that said, stop labeling people fair game, which was done. We stopped calling people fair game, but the action of treating them like fair game never stopped. Okay, we think that policy was still in effect.
I jumped in the squirrel buster van, and we are literally chasing
this guy, and I'm just like, I got shrimp in my mouth. I'm like, yeah, let's get him, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But I found out later, they were tracing Marty 24/7. He says, well, Marty's fishing with one of his buddies. We're going to...
So these guys, like, dressed up in these shirts, calling themselves Squirrel Busters, because Marty Rathman, who was, like, he was, like, very, very high up in the church. He left when Dave Miscavige, like, took them all to this, I forget what it's called, but it's basically the hole. They call it the hole. And they have to, like, stay in there for months and months at a time with bad food, sleeping on the floors and stuff like that. Basically are not allowed to leave. And Marty Rathman escaped. He's been speaking out about Scientology, but he still kind of believes in the practices of, whatever the practices they do, auditing and L. Ron Hubbard's, like, speeches and stuff like that. He still does that with people, but he's not doing it with the church. So the church calls those people squirrels who do it on their own, without church supervision or, whatever. So I just wanted to fill you on that. Recently, there's been some weird stuff, because Marty Rathburn came out and was, like, talking about how David Miscavige, like, beat people, like, would beat him. He beat him and a bunch of other people who work in, but then he, after the movie, and two movies that you should watch if you're interested in Scientology and kind of the corruption and, and parallels, like Fair Game and PSYOPs and everything like that, Indoctrination and Mind Control, would be Going Clear. There's a book, and then there was a documentary made, and it played on HBO. Got a bunch of Emmys. So Going Clear and Marty Rathman spoke for that, and then My Scientology movie, which I'm going to show a small clip.
And that is the clip I showed. I showed like 10 seconds, and then I actually stopped it, and then because you can show like 15 seconds of some material. So I showed 10 seconds of My Scientology movie and then stopped it and showed like 10 more seconds. And that's why my video basically, was copyright claimed and then limited so nobody could see it. So that's why I'm doing this, guys. For anybody coming in the chat room, my video is basically, stricken because of like 20 seconds in it. So let's continue.
I get my video, I don't know, it might get it to disappear. I hope that it just takes the monetization off. But
hey, Kyle from this morning, they did disappear your video. They didn't just demonetize it, they demonetized it and then made it so nobody could see it. And that's why me, present Kyle, is now doing a live stream re-showing the video. All right, let's continue.
Yeah, but it's weird because now Marty Rathman, I think he settled with the church, and now he's kind of like going back to defending them and attacking Leah Remini and attacking Mike. I forgot the guy's last name, but he's attacking all the people who are anti-Scientology, calling them a cult. So the church has these deep tentacles and can pull people back in, and it's very it's just very weird. And I would definitely not call it a church. It is a cult. They did get a 501c3 status because they basically caused trouble for the IRS until they were given that status. They strong-armed it, and just the abuse, the human rights abuses. They did child labor, for a long time. I don't think they do that anymore, but for the longest amount of time, disconnection. There's so many awful things the church does. A very interestingly weird, dark subject. And it really just has these eerie parallels to what targeted individuals go through. In our lives, what we were just pulled into. We didn't agree to be in a weird church or anything like that. But just some of these things like the gang stalkers do, like treating us like fair game, PSYOPs, basically like, treating us like an SP. In Scientology, they call a suppressive person. A suppressive person, you can do whatever you want to do to a suppressive person.
He said ambush. He says we're going to kind of ambush them there. So we drove up this roadbuster van and we hid. I mean, we literally hid behind a bush, and we would look out, look in, and we have our cameras ready. When Marty and the people that he was with came over the fence, we swarmed. I mean, it looked like something of cops or cheaters. And Dave said, let them bump you. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Let Marty bump me? He says, let anyone we record bump you. And I'm like, why? He said, so we can press charges. I'm like, really press charges?
I've already grabbed it.
I do know this guy.
That's like bull baiting, trying to get him to do
They
something
were
violent.
vicious. They were like,
They
we're going to
succeeded.
get they call him the rat. That
They
SOB,
annoyed
that
him and
rat.
agitated him so
We're just
much
gonna
that
get him.
Marty actually
And I'm just,
knocked
that
him
night,
out
I
of
came
glass
home
off and was
to my
arrested.
wife again,
for assault.
and I said, man, this is crazy. This is nuts. These people this is purely just stalking.
Stalking.
Oh no, I believe it. Marty, you're the one who's busted because you're the squirrel. Okay, get off the property.
Marty, I'm with Squirrel Busters Productions.
Yeah, busted.
Now who's busted who?
Some former patients claim the center refuses to give patients their prescription meds. Now
Okay, that's all I wanted to show from that. Let me see if that. Okay, I do want to show this part. They broke into somebody's house.
Our employees followed us with cameras, both by foot and in vehicles.
Now I walk in to my bedroom. Of the gun, the shells are out of the gun.
Scientologist broke into his home and took his gun and put it on his bed. And took the bullets and put them on his bed. Now that's something akin to like what we experience with gang stalking and people breaking into our homes and moving stuff around. That's a very dark type of that, where they're putting a gun on his bed, with the bullets, spread out like that.
That is my Taurus 357 Magnum. Given to me by my late Uncle Greg.
Didn't you read what Francis just did? You guys are a fraud. You're a fraud. I'm a fraud.
Okay, let's move on because it's getting kind of long, and I just wanted to show these examples, these kind of parallels to targeting, and just, I've been looking into it, and it's just, you can look at this, you can look at what happens with Scientology and with some of these policies that they make and stuff like that, and you can be like, in a targeted individual can be like, okay, yeah, people are crazy. They get into a group, they do crazy stuff. They're crazy policies, sick policies, and they believe that it's for their religion. And I'll show you later how deeply indoctrinated they get to be able to do stuff like this, because the beliefs that they're getting are like that they're an immortal being and they're here to save the world. They're here to clear the world and save everybody. So then they say, we got to do whatever it takes, which I kind of parallel that with, like my attackers microwaving me, using neuroweapons on me. They kind of follow a religion. They follow a chain of command. Like, I'm doing this for my country. Some of them are just sick Fs and they like doing it. But some of them are like, we've got to do this for our country. That's their religion. to make our country's military stronger, and we're going to sacrifice innocent families' life, and we want this country to be strong, no matter how many innocent civilians we have to sacrifice in this country. The beliefs can get out of hand and things like that. That's you know, the things in my life that I'm seeing now that are so evil in mankind and bring us to such ruin are deceit, and awful, horrible philosophies where people think that they are above other people, or their goals are more important, that they can kill, and they can kill anybody they want, even good people, because their goals are important and what they want to do is so important. Deceit and that. There's a lot of other bad things, but those two things are humanity's downfall. You know, humanity's downfall. But let's go. I want to let's see. What do I want to go to first here? I have too much stuff. To show y'all. Let's go ahead and go to this Paulette Cooper interview, because I did want to show this. This is Paulette Cooper, and I forgot the book she wrote, but and then this is Tony Ortega, and I think she wrote the book The Dangers of Science, or something. She wrote a bunch of articles, and I think the book was called The Dangers of Scientology. Don't quote me on that. You can find out more information and watch these things in full. But this is, in the interview, he's about to talk about how somebody, like, she was feeling like so depressed and suicidal, and there was a person, a friend of hers who she thought was a friend, who moved in but was actually working for the church, surveilling her, and we'll listen to what happened.
And maybe the most insidious thing done against her, I think, is that she was indicted in May 1973. And by that time, they had sent agents in to befriend her, pretend to be her friend. One of whom was a woman who moved into her own building, named Paula, and Paula would come down every day. And then Paula started bringing over her friend Jerry Levin. And Paulette was getting increasingly despondent, depressed, to the point where she could barely take care of herself, and Jerry offered to move in. Let me share expenses. Let me help you take care of your dog. And so from May to September 1973, Jerry Levin with Paulette. And he would encourage her to come up to the rooftop pool at night, where there was a ledge that he would jump up on, and he would try to get her up there. And he would say to her, "Hey, if you're not brave enough to do this, how are you going to take on those damn Scientologists?" And it had a beautiful view of the Empire State Building and the World Trade Center, which had just opened that spring. And she just couldn't do it. But to this day, she really believes he wanted to get her up there so she could accidentally have a fall.
So close to suicide. It's all
and she was hoarding Valium pills because she was determined that she really believed that if there was a trial, an enterprising reporter could have discovered that she'd been indicted, and she was in fear of that every day. And she really believed that her career would be over, her life would be over, and she was saving up Valium that she determined to kill herself if the trial actually came. And when in the 1977 raid, when they got the documents, they found Jerry's notes, and Jerry would report these things. She's talking about killing herself. She's saving pills. And he wrote, "Wouldn't this be great for science?" And we found him. This was one of the goals I had in the book, was who was Jerry Levin? And it's a long, complex story. I don't want to go into all, but there was a Guardian's Office operative named Don Alverso.
Okay, he goes into how he actually found them and talked to the guy, but they're not quite sure if that was the guy who did it. But I just wanted to show that as an example of how they infiltrate. The landlady of the place she was living was working and reporting for Scientology. The guy who moved in with her, and Paulette Cooper's pretty sure that they would go up on this thing, and he would be like, "Hey, climb up here," and she would never do it. But if she would have, he may have actually, gotten her, like, pushed her off, or she may have fallen off to her death. And he kept reporting back to the Church of Scientology, oh, she wants to commit suicide. Wouldn't that be great? So just these horrible infiltrations and psyops to destroy people who are enemies to the church because their beliefs are so important. Their money that they're making, I think it's more about money and the greed of it. You know, from Tony Ortega, you listen to a lot of his interviews, and he says, like, and you hear this from a lot of people who got out of the church, that these heads of the church, they actually are true believers in this stuff. And it's hard to go into all the stuff that Scientology believes, because there's like these levels, OT1, OT2, OT3, you know, you got the Xenu thing and everything like that, but they believe a lot more. They believe that you can look into past lives and you are a Thetan, which is really, really weird. Think about it, Thetan. The joke is, Tony Ortega made this joke, and I had already thought about this, but, you know, we all know that L. Ron Hubbard, you know, worked with, you know, he knew Aleister Crowley, and then he worked with Jack Parsons. He was like he worked under Jack Parsons, and he was in the OTO. He was in that satanic religion. So think about it. He's making up this religion. He's like, we are Thetans. So, and also in the religion, it teaches how Jesus was the biggest SP.
I think I didn't tell. Ortega said that, you know, that day that L. Ron Hubbard like came up with Thetan, he had a lisp, you know, so like Satan, because he was in the OTO. So I didn't even tell the joke when I was explaining that. So I just wanted to explain that. He said like that day L. Ron Hubbard came in and had a lisp, so he said Thetan instead of Satan, which is pretty funny, but also kind of there's a lot of truth, a lot of revelation there, you know.
Like, and you'll hear that later from one of these guys who went through all these OT levels. So these crazy beliefs that were just made up by L. Ron Hubbard, and L. Ron Hubbard had this whole history of Satanism. You know, with this, I just kind of wanted to show the parallels of fair game, the crazy things the church done that could be considered psyops and things like that, and the indoctrination. But this goes deep, and that's why I wonder, you know, and you look at Scientology, and you can kind of compare the beliefs like the Kabbalah or Masonry, where they go up certain levels, and you can't know this information until you go up the next level. And, you know, that's kind of, I think, what L. Ron Hubbard was doing. He's trying to make money, and he was also trying to spread this weird cult beliefs of Masonry, Satanism, and things like that in a different way, in his own creative way. I find his creativity disgusting, because when you use creativity to control people, and actually one of his quotes, and I'll find the exact quote, was he said, if you want to control people, you have to lie to them. He said it like 3 times, and I think it's in one of his writings. You know, if you want to control people, you have to lie to them. To write that down in your book, he said, you know, if you want to control people, lie to them. So he was all about control. He was all about this philosophy of control. And he also, let me go to this before I move on. And I want to find more documents on this. I may do another video on L. Ron Hubbard and like his history before this, and some other. There was something else that I wanted to go into. I didn't know it was this time. I'm pretty tired, so I'm just gonna kind of you know, introduce this. You guys look into it. I think a good thing is that so many people are speaking out against Scientology, and Scientology can't harass them all. They can't fair game them all, which is very hopeful for us as targeted individuals, because I think a lot of people are scared. You know, especially people who know about this, they're scared to come out and talk about it, like people who actually work on it and stuff like that. But as more and more people come out and speak about it, they can't target all of us, you know. And I know it's it's a way bigger, like Scientology's a little microcosm compared to targeting on a world scale that's happening now. But we can look at these things and how they're playing out, and we can kind of get our own game plan. And it's really cool to see Leah Remini coming out, and now it's just, you know, people can talk about Scientology and criticize it, and they can't go after everybody, you know. So it's kind of, and like I hope that this cult will be taken down. Now some of the things I think, like communication skills and stuff that you first learn when you go in there, that's how people kind of get roped in. And if you watch Going Clear, that documentary, you know, you kind of see what makes people stay in it at first, and then once they paid in so much money and their lives are there, and if they leave, people will disconnect from them. You know, they kind of get locked in. So that's a really good documentary to watch. But this is actually a letter. This is like Hubbard was gonna basically throw everybody in his organization under the bus as communists, and turn them over to the FBI or whatever. But he also wrote a bunch of letters, and this is one. There's another one, and I couldn't find it, where he actually offered up Dianetics and Scientology to the Department of Defense for psychological operations. He said, what I've created can help you for psychological operations to have learned how to control people. So let me just read this real quick. Hubbard's letter to the attorney. So you know, really targets, you know, with this information, I'm trying to show the parallels of fair game and the psyops and bull baiting and everything as it relates to gang stalking. But really, you know, we do need to look into this, because a lot of the psychological aspects of the gang stalkers and the people attacking us are the psychological aspects of people in this church, people in cults in general. Again, I bring up cults because this is a giant cult, and it, you know, it doesn't need to be called a cult for evil beliefs to influence people. But let me go ahead and read this. So L. Ron Hubbard wanted to offer Scientology at a certain point. I'm not sure when this was. Let's see if it says. Hubbard's letter to the attorney. I think this was to Attorney General. Is this the Attorney General, Department of Justice, Washington, D.C. So okay, so Hubbard's letter to the attorney ended with a plea for help and a reassertion that he wanted to work with the DOD on psychological warfare. All these matters are, of course, confidential. I do not wish them to be published anyway. I'm not trying to regain a reputation by blaming communism, but I'm trying hard to understand how it is that these persons, also solidly ex-affiliated or currently affiliated as a group, work in such close partnership against the technology they know would hurt communism and yet remain at liberty. So he's saying his technology could fight communism. His psychological warfare, his ability to control people, to make them better, to mind control people. I am applying to the Department of Defense for permission to deliver to them my work on psychological warfare. I hope this new foundation can operate. Frankly, from what has happened, I am not certain I will live through this. I do not know that I have only these enemies in the entire world. May I respectfully request, sir, your assistance in rendering America a trifle safer for new sciences. I wish I could ask you to extend that clause in the charter of the FBI about persons in distress. Sincerely, L. Ron Hubbard. Bureau quickly reached its conclusion. In the problematic and rather non-clinical words of the special agent who interviewed Hubbard, he was a mental case. The FBI's records also seem to contradict some of the claims of Hubbard's letters, such as his assertion that Hollister was responsible for the charges that Hubbard had kidnapped his wife. According to the FBI's records, these charges were actually brought by Hubbard's wife herself. Now, you know, the FBI, you know, completely rejected Hubbard's plea to go into cahoots with them or whatever, and use Scientology or Dianetics for any kind of their psychological warfare. But does that mean that the CIA also did? Does that mean that the CIA or the DOD did not at a later time that's not documented, start getting information from Scientology and about the practices they use to indoctrinate people, to use fair game and things like that, and try and figure out how they could work with those, with sets of things that they had already learned about psychological warfare, or some trying to control the masses and things like that. So I'm gonna look more deeper, not more deeper. I'm gonna look deeper into this, and I may go into it and look for some documentation on that. Maybe go over some stuff about L. Ron Hubbard. I am really interested in Scientology because of the parallels, and just because I guess that the main reason is look how crazy people can be, and it's easy. I think it should be easy for a person who's not targeted like us to look at the Church of Scientology, to look at fair game and say, if the DOD and DHS decided to do this to people, what would it look like? It would look like fair game. It would look like the psyops that Scientology had. So I think this is very, very useful information. Let's see what else. I don't know if I want to show.
Okay, here it is. So I'm going to skip ahead quite a bit, just in case we may miss a kind of a good chunk, but maybe I'll put it in a director's cut in the future. So let's skip ahead and make sure I get ahead of this, so that my video is not disappeared again. All right, I think this is good. It passed it up. I'm basically just now showing bull baiting. I was in Scientology and Me. It's just I showed a couple of seconds where the guy's doing a documentary on Scientology, and he's been kind of working a while getting people to recreate certain scenes that happened in the hole. Like he got an actor to play David Miscavige. So he's been working on the documentary and talking to Marty Rathburn, and he's being tailed by this like white truck, and it really is strikingly similar, to vehicular stalking and some of the stalking that we get as targets. So okay.
In my gang stalking and on some conference calls, not lately because I haven't been going to conference calls lately. I really need to get back on to some and get back in touch with the people on the conference calls. I kind of talked to some people offline, but I don't know. I've just been trying to kind of get my mind together, and I haven't been feeling very good and hopeful. So I like to feel hopeful, like I can help. And I don't like. I know I whine a lot, but I don't know. I'm going through some stuff. We're all going through some stuff with this targeting. I don't have to explain it to you guys. But anyway, okay. So I'm stop talking about that. I just want to show bull baiting because I've had this actually with real like in your face gang stalking. I've had bull baiting from people, and then on conference calls a while back, maybe like a year ago, I did a lot of bull baiting from people, and that's where people are like intentionally trying to push your buttons so that you blow up. And I've blown up on people, and started yelling at them and saying horrible things. And that's not the type of person I am. But when you're getting hit with microwaves, they're hitting you with a certain frequency to make you angry, and then somebody's yelling at you, you do blow up. Now Scientology, this example is without neuro weapons or anything like that, and that was just a theory that maybe they Maybe Scientology does have access to this technology nowadays. I don't know. I don't know how rich they are. If they are working in collusion with the DoD nowadays, where they give certain tactics and things that they're using, I don't know. I mean, that would be some good information to find. Those are just theories. But you know, when you see something like gang stalking, and you're like, wow, that's exactly like fair game. And it raises a lot of questions. It raises a lot of questions, and I think we can understand a lot by looking at these things that look like gang stalking, that really just, you know, are a spitting image for. But I want to show you all an example of bull baiting. I'm sure a lot of you guys have experienced this from people. Even you could this. I mean, this is an example. You know, my attackers who are actually remote neural monitoring me and doing B2K to me, you know, they're like, hey, kill yourself, blah, blah. That's bull baiting. They want me to blow up. They want me to yell at air, because they're, you know, they are shooting stuff at me, but they're not right in front of my face. So that's kind of like an example of bull baiting. So check this out. This is John Sweeney. He did a documentary for the BBC called Scientology and Me. On YouTube, all those are erased. You can't get to the whole video, but this is like what happened next in it. So let's check this
When
out.
Panorama investigates, sometimes gets rolled. At other times, not very much happens, at least in public. But every now and then, as John Sweeney discovered when he took on Scientology, the people being investigated bite back.
My mission, to find out whether the Church of Scientology still deserves its sinister reputation. We tried to negotiate access with the church, but couldn't reach agreement. We'd been talking to their critics, and they knew it. And then the man we'd been negotiating with was waiting for us at our hotel at midnight. Church spokesman Tommy Davis. Oh, hi.
I think to shake hands with you, Mom.
Okay.
Yeah, I find it considerably obnoxious when you give it.
The man in black, the Scientology cameraman. From my perspective, you and the Church of Scientology have been spying on the BBC. It was the first of many confrontations. Who should pop up the next day? Oh, hi, Tommy. Hello. Hi, hello. How are you? I was just wondering where you are. There you are. Fantastic. Then I used the word cult.
No, you listen to me for a second.
Please,
You have no right whatsoever to say what and what isn't a religion.
And up pops Tommy again. Tommy Davis.
I just want to make sure that we were on record, you know, as far as this gentleman here that you're with.
Every time we talk to a critic of Scientology, you within hours come up and say, that's an extortionist, that's a sexual pervert. It's as if you are terrified of anyone criticizing an organization. It's as if there's something that you've got to hide.
I am not terrified of anything, and you know what? I have absolutely nothing to hide whatsoever. Zero.
Hiding from Tommy wasn't easy.
We're just having an editorial conference in the loo, because it's the only place where we can go. Just came from.
Are you guys doing okay in there?
Yeah, we're just
All three of you were in the bathroom together?
yeah, well the point is, Tommy, is that it's fine. It's from around the world. Then came the showdown. Tommy Davis launched into me yet again with the uncritical way he believed I'd interviewed one of Scientology's critics. And I lost it. Big time.
You're accusing members of my religion of engaging in brainwashing.
Oh, Tommy, you suck! You are I apologize then and I apologize now. It was wrong.
See, that's bull baiting the whole time, and there's like Marty Rathburn and this other guy, Mike Rinder. They were at the head of the church. They were working under David Miscavige at the time. They were talking to Tommy while all that was going on, and Tommy was like, let me go talk to him. I'm going to push his buttons, and I'm going to make him blow up. Like, that was a plan. It was a plan to, like, and they have these tactics. They go through it on this other documentary, and Marty Rathburn is telling John Sweeney, this guy, he's saying, you know, there's certain tactics that you do to a person to make them blow up like that, to bull bait them. Like if they're talking, you cut them off. You keep cutting them off. You keep cutting them off so they can't talk. You say certain things that you know will that really push their buttons and things like that. So it was that was purposeful. That was not just an incident where Tommy was mad or whatever. He was specifically trying to get John Sweeney to blow up and look like a crazy person. He kind of succeeded because John Sweeney had to make an apology. The BBC had to make an apology and everything like that. So the church made him look bad. But nonetheless, when you find out how the church does stuff and does that to people, it goes back on the church. It makes them look bad. Which in our situation can really work for us if we can get these people out of the shadows and people can know what they're doing. It won't just be people looking at us. They'll see the tactics that these people use, and they will definitely look bad because they are bad. So let's let that finish up.
Unsurprisingly, Scientology used their recording of my meltdown against me. They compared me to Hitler, accused us of faking evidence and being linked to terrorism, charges we deny. Then I went global. My rage spread across the world like a computer virus. Scientology moved the battle to the internet. They posted their recording of Mr. Shouty. We fired back, showing the context and reported what Scientology's critics say, that it's a cult. Battle joined, the YouTube generation got stuck in.
There's just something funny to me about a respected journalist who loses us cool during the interviews, which means an investigative journalist. So we decided we were going to make a video spoofing it. Had nothing to do with Scientology because neither one of us are Scientologists. He might be a puppet, but he's not a Scientologist.
So it spreads, jumping oceans and time zones. 2 million hits on YouTube and counting. Scientologists got some support.
This is a professional, not. Look at his face, turned red like a tomato when it starts yelling. Crikey, that guy's nuts.
And I have some other examples of bull baiting, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys out there who are targets, you've experienced this with people in your life, especially if you have somebody close. I don't really have anybody in my family or my friends who are targeting me. Like, it's mostly strangers, but I think if you have people close to you, they will try and bull bait you and hit your button, push your buttons so that you act out. They're trying to make you act out. Okay, so I had some other stuff that I wanted to go through, but I'm kind of tired. I was more tired than I thought I was before I started making this. I want to go through this last part. This is a very darkly interesting case of Stephen Fishman. He's a Scientologist who, he went like all the way up the bridge or whatever, and he was like, I don't know, he was a high OT, and he was actually working cases, I think embezzling money to pay for his books and everything like that. He was doing something illegal, and he got in trouble. So the church actually told him that they wanted him to commit suicide. They gave him poisons and stuff like that so he could commit suicide. But if part of their beliefs are that you're a thetan, you're like this spiritual being, so it's not really killing yourself. You're going to come back in the next life or something. And they were telling him that he would come back as a Sea Org member and be raised by Sea Org parents. And there's this whole case on it. He's now out of the cult. He's now out of the Scientology cult. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard is that he's out of the cult now. I'm not sure. But this is him when he is just into it. He's telling them about all the stuff that Scientologists believe. This kind of gives you an idea of why a Scientologist would do such crazy things, because they believe that the fate of the world is in their hands and they need to clear the world. They need to make everybody a thetan or whatever and get these aliens off of us. Oh, I don't know. It's a lot of complicated beliefs because L. Ron Hubbard was a science fiction writer, so So he was very imaginative when he was coming up with the religious philosophies. Crazy stuff. But I wanted to go through some of the things that are really crazy, and then how these people in Scientology were sending poison to him to take. He decided not to, and there's this huge case, about it, and it's kind of the indoctrination part of it, because to understand how crazy some of these Scientologists, and to understand how crazy some of these people, maybe not the gang stalkers, but the people who are using the microwave weapons on us, the people who are doing that, working for the DOD and these contractors, they have crazy beliefs. They have been indoctrinated to believe certain things where it's okay to sacrifice innocent families for their beliefs.
Gang stalkers too. Gang stalkers also probably have very crazy beliefs. So I want to correct my this morning self. This is the present Kyle correcting the this morning Kyle.
For the big picture. So this is just it's a very dark, a dark case. It's a little bit funny. He's a funny guy, but it just shows how Scientology really mind control people. It really got them believing these things, and it's like the heads of the church are telling them, hey, they didn't call it suicide. They called it like leaving the game or something like that. And he didn't want to do it because he had this big role to play. And you'll see why he thinks he has this big role to play. And this is an important aspect of it, because what we're fighting in this world, what makes this world so dark and causes things like targeting and torture, are crazy beliefs, dark philosophies that are passed on and indoctrinated into people, get in that group, that cult, that dark philosophy, and then they can do whatever. They do whatever the group wants them to do. So this is a good example of that. So I'm going to show a couple of clips. That's part 1-7. Right one. Just show a couple of these, and then I'm going to kind of wrap it up. I didn't know it was going to take this long. I've got a horrible headache. Like I'm like hot all around my neck, my head. So I might get off in gear and listen to Dave Case's CD after this. But here we go. This guy is Stephen Fishman. This is like his lawyer, and I don't think a psychologist, but I think a social worker we're talking to for the case coming up against Scientology.
Real negative statistics for an org, or for any of the dynamics, actually.
Okay, I don't know what year this was, 1980 something, but I'm not sure the specific year. It's a very interesting. There is a YouTube video where it's the entire length of this talk. It's pretty interesting. It kind of makes you go, you got to shake your head afterwards, because it's so mind-boggling, insane. You got to realize that Scientology indoctrinates people over many years, and they put in a lot of money to get to those different levels. So they have to stay in, and they think it's of value, and they're in there so long, so they get a little.
How vital is a Scientologist's right to go up the bridge?
Well, there's two rights that have been interfered with in the physical universe. And those two rights are the right to one's sanity and the right to leave the game. Did you know that?
So leave the game, the right to commit suicide, because they believe that they are a Thetan spiritual being, and I believe in a soul, so kind of a similarity, but they believe that they don't. This is just a shell, and you're a Thetan inside of you. And then when L. Ron Hubbard died, they said that he just left that shell, But let's continue to listen to Mr. Fishman.
Have you heard that before? Okay. The right to leave the game. If a person does not want to be here, and if a person wants to go to
I hate when that happens.
I want to interject something, and this is just a theoretical thing, because I've watched this like maybe 3 times. Once a long time ago, and then once recently, and then I watched it so I could find the parts that I want to show you guys. Once like years ago, and then one time recently, and I was like, oh man, that'd be kind of neat to show how indoctrinated somebody can be. But that part, and this is just a theory, but you know, this is a huge case, and Scientology would bug people's apartments and put surveillance in their place, and so this is a huge case that could have brought down Scientology. So I think that they were like, they had his place bugged, and when they hit anything important, like he's talking about, we all have the right to commit suicide, then the phone rings. So I do think that was maybe somebody trying to call in, break it up, like kind of break up the questioning. But that's just neither here nor there.
Okay, let's go back to the question I think we were talking about before the phone call. I was asking you to explain the importance to a Scientologist of going up the bridge.
Well, the bridge represents the levels of awareness, knowing how to know. And at the top of the grade chart, you enter a phase where you are not dependent upon the physical body for any reason whatsoever. You operate by postulates. You say, let there be light, and there is light. In other words, that's a postulate. And you don't need any of the barriers of the physical universe in which to operate.
Now, is it you, or do you mean when you say you in that explanation, you the Thetan or you the body?
No, we're talking the Thetan. The body is the genetic entity. So
the you in this,
there is no body you. You are not a body.
I understand.
That's the whole point I'm trying to make.
I understand. So it's the Thetan that gains these abilities through the processing.
Yeah, the genetic entity is no different than a genetic horse or a cat or a dog.
Are these new abilities that the Thetan acquires, or are these old abilities that the Thetan...
He looks like the brother on Arrested Development, you know, with the glasses. Hey, brother. Maybe some of you guys will know what I'm talking about.
These are exactly, they're old abilities that the Thetan learns how to reacquaint himself or herself with.
You mean I have these abilities?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a matter of the fact that they're occluded. Your abilities are hidden. They're occluded because of all of the overts that you've committed along the line.
How did it happen that the Thetan lost the abilities?
Because the Thetan became the victim of his own trap. He built this trap called the physical universe because he wanted to create randomity. And he wanted to create, in other words, a big game where, picture yourself knowing everything there is to know and knowing how to know it. And there is an element of 2.5, which would be boredom on the tone scale.
Okay, I just
there would be an
want
element
to get
of...
this. He says they have the right to leave the game on that one. And then this next one, I think this is... I'm not sure.
After all, if God is infinitely good and truth and love, why would he create a universe whereby every time we had to eat, some plant or animal would have to die?
How important is it to you personally to regain your Thetan powers?
It's the most important thing in my life. I would do anything it takes to do it. Anything. At this point, in fact, I found out that Cult Awareness Network has some hidden Scientology data. Are you aware of that?
No.
Well, I found out. I made some calls, and now I'm trying to. Of course, I'm operating as a squirrel, you know, obviously, because I can't do it standardly, but I have to get this data no matter what it takes to get it.
What do you mean as a squirrel?
Well, a squirrel, I didn't bring my tech dictionary back down here. It's up there.
You know,
a squirrel is a person.
Okay, and I just wanted y'all to get the part where he's like, you know, to fulfill his role, which is so important because he has a role clearing the earth. You know, they have, through all these auditing sessions and the OT levels, he's gone through past lives and all that. He has a very important past life that will mean clearing half of the population by showing that Christianity is not true, and that's the next part. But I just want to show that part where he's like, I would do anything, and that's, you know, the people and higher up management and his handlers basically were telling.
Hey, and guys, I want to just add something in here because I was going to maybe do a follow-up video on this. Clearing means like getting people to that state where they are like a pure thetan or whatever. But that's not really what I wanted to kind of add on to. I was kind of snarky here about like belief in a soul, because like they say thetan, which means like their spirit being, which is not that crazy. You know, that's what I believe. I'm a Christian, and some people may find, you know, what I believe crazy. So I was a little bit snarky, and I wish I wasn't as snarky about the beliefs, because, you know, there are good Scientologists. It doesn't matter, you know, for me, and I know as a Christian, maybe some other Christians will jump on me, but like my philosophy is like, you can believe that a purple duck on Pluto is God as long as your actions are good, as long as your actions are life affirming. And I know as a Christian, we're supposed to say only through Jesus Christ, but I kind of, you know, I'm more of a show people my faith through action. And then, you know, let them decide, that's I'm not God to decide what they believe. But I was really snarky about things that really, you know, I believe in a soul. I believe that this isn't all that we have. So I just want to kind of correct that. What I guess, in this, what I didn't mean to make fun of spirituality or even belief in past lives. But Scientology goes so far out there with the indoctrination and what they believe that it affects their actions. Their actions become insane. So I just wanted to kind of correct that. I don't really care what anybody believes, and I'm sure there are some very, very Scientologists who believe in this who are very good people and their actions are good, and they don't know about fair game, you know, and all that stuff. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of throw that in. I was being very snarky about, you know, believing in past lives, but I didn't mean to be snarky about that. I meant to be kind of snarky about these specifically indoctrinated, going too far beliefs. So I just kind of wanted to make that clear.
Him he needed to commit suicide to leave his body, but he, you know, thankfully, because I think he got a lot better. I heard that he actually got out of the cult, but they were saying that he needed to leave the game and he would come back in another body. So this is the kind of crap the church is doing, based off of their indoctrinated people who were, you know, just lost their minds because they're thinking that they're, you know, a Satan who's going to come back in another body or something like that. Here's the next one. Here's his past life and why he thinks that he's so important for this. And, you know, this is just to show the indoctrination of Scientology, you know, why. And I think some of the higher up people in Scientology, the people who, you know, even, I think a lot of people say, and I don't know if you guys like this video, and I think it's pertinent. I think it's very pertinent to what we're going through. But some people say that even L. Ron Hubbard started to believe he had stumbled onto something, even though he knew he was conning people. And even he started to believe that maybe there was something to going through past lives and stuff like that. So it gets really weird. It gets really weird. And so when they're doing fair game and they're destroying their enemies, and you've got these Scientologists who are like, yeah, we got to destroy our enemies. They think that they're doing it so they can save the world. You know, you see what I'm saying? But let's listen to Mr. Fishman explain one of his past lives.
To go up the bridge, and I can explain it to you if you like.
How far up the bridge did you go?
Through objectives.
That's all. You didn't do any of the OT.
I did it on the left side of the bridge.
On the training side.
Right.
Do you know who Zimu was?
Oh, wait,
Zimu,
this is a different part. Okay, this is a different part. This isn't his past life. This is when he asked him about Xenu. And he does know about Xenu, but all Scientologists are told not to talk about Xenu if they do. Now it's the cat's out of the bag, but back then it was they were told not to tell people about the Xenu part. You know, they've showed it on South Park, and you can just go to YouTube South Park Scientologists, and it'll show you what Scientologists actually believe at OT3 or whatever, and it's something that L. Ron Hubbard just made up. He just made it up. But they think L. Ron Hubbard said that anybody who heard about that before they were ready could die from that information. And some most Scientologists, when they're in there, they believe that. You know, they actually believe that. So people are crazy.
Which indicate the path to go up the bridge, and I can explain it to you if you like.
How far up the bridge did you go?
Through objectives.
That's all. You didn't do any of the OT.
I did it on the left side of the bridge.
On the training side.
Right.
Do you know who Zimu was?
Zimu, no.
Zimu.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Never heard of the Emperor Zimu?
No.
He's lying.
Nope. Who is he?
For me to know and you to guess.
Oh, I can look it up if it's here.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's in upper level materials.
How far up?
OT3?
Well, as I say,
what would happen to you if you were exposed to OT3 materials before you were ready?
He's already dead.
That would be the end, basically.
What would happen?
Well, I'm told that if you see it, you could physically die. Your physical body could die.
Would you start freewheeling?
Yeah. Freewheeling or freeloading, that's a joke in Scientology. You know that freeloading.
His favorite show, and this is not a joke. That guy's favorite show is Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse. Like at the end, he's like, "And this is my favorite show," and he has all the Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse. It's so funny. Well, I mean, this situation is very tragic, but I think it turned out good. From what I've heard in all the comments, I haven't seen evidence on this, but he actually speaks out against Scientology now. He got out of it, and he saw how crazy this was. I'm not sure that that might just be a story that somebody put out, but I think that it ended up okay. I think I don't even think he had to do jail time.
Loader is a person who leaves his post. I was told that if you see the wall of fire materials before you've been trained on the preps, then it's too unconfrontable to handle. At this point, I'm willing to take that shot.
And what happens to you? Describe what would happen.
Man, I smoke a lot of electronic cigarettes. I'm noticing that. I've really got to cut down. I'm getting sick of watching me smoke on that cigarette every couple of seconds. All right, let's continue. It's like a mirror inside of a mirror, guys, tonight.
If you started freewheeling, or if you saw some of this material when you weren't...
Well, you do a bump to the between lives area.
Do a what?
You do a bump to the between lives area.
And, you know, guys, I know that I'm kind of going all over the place with this video. I'm showing fair game by Scientology and bull baiting, and then, you know, Tony Ortega talking to Paulette Cooper and things like that. I really just want to bring home the parallels of Scientology, the parallels of fair game and bull baiting and things like in the psyops they ran to gang stalking, but also to show crazy beliefs cause crazy actions. When you really make a person crazy like this, you're not sure what they're capable of. And that's what a lot of people in Scientology, a lot of the people who are involved in this, the operations against us, that think they're crazy. They've been indoctrinated with crazy philosophies, crazy beliefs, and you're going to get crazy psychotic actions out of them. You know, so I'm just, you know, I know it's a little bit, I'm jumping here, I'm jumping there, you know. All right, but let's let him talk a little bit more on this one. There's a couple more of him saying some things. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's like I think it's like 2 hours of him giving this kind of pre-deposition. It's just go to Scientology Fishman, you know, if you're interested.
Which means, I wish you'd get the dictionary.
You need the dictionary?
No, I don't need it. I just want to tell it to you standardly.
Okay. I think you ought to have the dictionary if you need it then.
Well, I mean, I just don't want to. It's very important.
We'll get you the dictionary.
Technical dictionary, second shelf, 7th book over. Right. Left, 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 left. Right. Okay. 8th book. All right. Good. Yeah, I shifted the books the other day because I needed room for a check sheet. Okay. Doing a bunk. It's very important.
Okay, that's all I want to show you.
That's when you leave the body.
He is required to lie about that, and he seems like he's not a very big liar, like it did, but he lied pretty well because he thought that it would actually harm those people if they knew about it. Okay, now this is about his past life and why he's so important to saving the world. And that's why he was embezzling money. And actually thought about ending the game to help the church. And the people who were telling him to end his game, maybe didn't believe in any of this. You know, there are some Scientologists that believe all of it, and there are some that are just trying to use those beliefs to control people. So there's both in there, you know, which could be compared to what we're going through. There could be some true believers, and we got to sacrifice Americans and experiment them on for the greatness of this country. And there could be people who know that it's not for the greatness of this country, and other countries are doing it anyway. And it's really to bring about a new world order. And they just use those people's patriotism, their care for our country. They use that to make them do crazy things and kill people. Just, you know, so there's like both in there.
I'm still going to wear my hat. And I'm still going to be a Scientologist, and Ron is going to be proud of me. Because,
I think I went too far. Let's go to this one. Okay, this one right here.
Head up to it, exactly.
There was an image, a mental image picture, which I found, which the auditor found, of the first scene I recall to do with this incident is where I was trying to reconcile an estranged, lost relationship. I hadn't seen this family member. At that time, I didn't know it was my son. I hadn't seen this family member ever. But I knew where he was, and I knew how to reach him because I found out some of the things he was doing. And I confronted him with the fact that I was his father. And the image that I had, the mental image pictures, the first mental image pictures of this was of this son of mine.
Now, this is in a session where he's imagining a past life. He's getting images from a past life in this audit thing. He's getting images of the son that he didn't know, and he's telling about that right now.
Right? Cursing me, beating me up, urinating on me, and exposing me to all kinds of degradation. And we went to the beginning of the incident. We went back and forth, and finally I found out, the whole image came through very clearly, that I was Jesus Christ's real father. That I was a neighbor of his mother, 4 houses down. And his mother was only 13 at the time. I was 16. And she used to go out in the morning at sunrise to bathe. And, of course, there was no indoor plumbing 2,000 years ago. And, of course, I had always found this girl very attractive and sensual. And, you know, one of the disadvantages of remembering your past lives is that when you find somebody in the past that means so much more to you than you have found in this lifetime seems very unreal. Have you ever noticed that? Okay. Well, the point is, Mary, his mother, was very, very sexy and sensual. And every morning I used to watch her bathe, hiding behind the bushes. And I would get very excited and I would masturbate, you know. And this went on for like months, 7 months or so. And of course, eventually she caught me, you know, doing this, and there was a big flap over that. But in the meantime, I made her pregnant artificially because the sperm, the semen, went through the bushes, through the water, about 4 feet away, and penetrated her. And when she found out she was pregnant, they had a doctor who examined her and to see whether she had been whether she had sexual intercourse, because that would have been grounds for a stoning, you know. And they found out that she was intact. Her hymen was still there. And of course, what happened? One thing led to another, and the family decided to make a big PR campaign out of this and blame it on God. They had this rabbi, Zacharias, who came up with the idea. But anyway, that is how Jesus was really born. But what happened was, I never really had a chance to meet him because when I confronted Mary with it, before she had the baby, she denied the whole thing, and she was like very adamant about it and never wanted to see me again. But 30 years later, when he was preaching outside of the outskirts of Jerusalem, where I had moved to, I left that city, and I was in business there. I went to see him to tell him who I really was. We even looked alike. The mock-ups, the bodies looked alike.
Of Jesus?
Yeah, I looked like him. I'm just an older version of him. But he was so outraged. In fact, I know he believed all the garbage that he was who he thought he was, you know, the Son of God and all this other stuff. He was that deluded that I couldn't even go into a good ARC with him.
What's an ARC?
Affinity, reality, and communication. When you find a level of agreement.
Okay, so that's just what I wanted to tell y'all. So he, in a past life, he thinks he was the father of Jesus. And I think the next part, it shows why he thinks that's so important to his mission on this earth, as a Thetan, and it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just crazy stuff. I just want you to see the crazy, okay? I think he did get better, though. I think this guy did get better. This show what Scientology did, and then they were going to get him to kill himself, and he was embezzling money for them. So this cult organization is very, very evil. I think it's even more evil today. And then things like fair game and psyops and all this stuff come out of it because some of those people higher up in the church believe stuff like this guy. Some of them are just using everybody and they don't believe in any of it and they're just playing the game, you know. Some of them, like David Miscavige and Tom Cruise, believe that they are high-ranking Thetans that are going to save this world, and they will do anything and hurt anybody to get that done. And just the beliefs, the horrendously sick beliefs that come from lies from L. Ron Hubbard create sick actions. We know that just sick beliefs, we need balanced beliefs. We need logical, balanced beliefs. We need faith. We need things that make sense so that we can have good actions in a good world. And this is where sickness comes from. Sickness comes from lies, to control people, brainwash them, and make them do crazy things. So that's just my point with this. But it's you know, I guess I like weird stuff, and I watched this a long time ago, and it just is fascinating. I don't know what that says about me, but I was fascinated by this guy. Just like, how does somebody believe that? He doesn't seem like he seems like he has all these books and he can read, and he's making a lot of money from embezzling, and whatever he was doing, it was illegal. And he's very good at it, and he could learn a lot. His memories could, how? But let's move on.
Did you tell people in the Church of Scientology about these realizations?
Of course.
How did they react to it?
You're talking about after they happened?
Yes.
I became an instant star. They said I was the one who was going to destroy the Christian church, and all of they were looking for me. In fact, I had to go to Flag for a special briefing because they found their guy. I mean, there's been other cases like that when they found, like Einstein, and they found some other major people. And because very few people are important, and even that role would have unto itself been.
I think I was Plato. I'm pretty sure.
Unimportant, but the fact is that the person connected with it was so important, and they found the real father of Jesus Christ, and they could prove it on the meter and show the world what stupid bullshit. I'm on videotape, but
sorry. When did you go to Flag?
I went to Flag numerous times in connection with this incident.
Right.
In '85.
What is Flag?
Flag is the central organization of the upper levels of Scientology, where in other words, certain things can't be done other than in Flag.
Let's go to the next one. Part 3.
This briefing that was held for you at Flag,
right,
at which David Miscavige was present.
Right.
There was discussion of the way in which you were accumulating money.
Absolutely. They said to me, continue these cases. You can continue working these cases. And in fact, in other words, I forget whether it was Miscavige or the guy from OSA. The guy from OSA was the one who said, just as Flag auditing has to be flubless, your handling of this hat has to be flubless. There can be no more Q&A with this was after I got divorced. There could be no more Q&A like with the ex-wife. There could be no Q&A with Mest. You have a hat, you wear it. You're doing this not only for Ron and for us, but to clear. You're gonna be the one to clear half the planet. It's you, because not only have you got the ability to actually provide the wherewithal to fund the project as an FP, financial planner, but you are in other words, I was wearing all the hats. I was actually the reason why the tech was being done, so that when the funds were in, it would be me doing. In other words, instead of having 10 or 20 different people wearing different hats, I'm wearing a lot of hats, because it's going to be me who's going to come forward and prove to the world that I was the father of Jesus Christ. You realize what a big responsibility that is? You realize what an important Thetan I am? Because here, who else could do it? He only had one father, one biological father. He didn't have 20 fathers. In fact, they said that to me. They said, if he had 20 fathers, we could have a choice of who we can use. But you're the guy. So when all of this thing blew up on 31 July, I decided I still have to do this. I have to do this anyway. Why do you think I put all of this together so quickly? Because the most important thing in my life is to clear the planet. And you can't clear the planet unless you strip away the false data about Christianity. Then after people realize that Jesus Christ was my son, where are they going to go but to Scientology? When they know from the Holy Book of Life that past lives are valid, that all of the processes I talk about in here, they can trace back to Scientology. Scientology is going to pick it up. They're going to pick it up, and they're going to clear the planet. And even if I'm PTS, or even if I'm an SP, Ron is going to know I'm the one who did it. Do you see how important my mission is even now?
Certainly. Yeah.
No matter what happens with all this.
So he was doing something illegal. I think it was either embezzling money. It was something illegal to got cases, and he's doing something really illegal. And the head of Scientology knew about it, and he got caught. He got picked up in an airport, and so this was all going to go to trial about, I'm not sure what happened with the case. I'm sure Scientology wriggled its way out of it. But the heads of Scientology wanted him to exit the game, so that there could be no trial, so that it would go away. I wanted to show that part where, I don't know, maybe I stopped doing these videos, but it tells about the management of Scientology, like sending him poison and things like that. Let me see if I can find that.
There is one thing, guys. This case was it was a hallmark because this case made all the information come out about what Scientologists' beliefs are and the OT levels and everything like that. So it actually did, strike a blow to Scientology. But I don't think, I don't know if anybody went to jail or anything like that. But it was huge because after this case, people started to realize what the OT levels really entailed, because all that information became available because of the court case. Okay, just wanted to throw that in there.
Crap with the case and with the government and with the camp. I'm going to clear the planet anyway. You see? I'm still wearing my hat.
I'm still wearing my hat.
I'm still clearing the planet.
I'm still wearing my hat.
Well, you were at Flag on this time when you went there for this meeting. Was there only one meeting, or was there more than one meeting?
Well, we had the major meeting.
Just one major meeting.
Yeah, that was all that was necessary.
How long did you spend at Flag at that time?
Well, I stayed there for, I think it was 3 days, 2 nights.
And what did you do during those 3 days and 2 nights?
Well, you know how life is at Flag. You get into Flag and there are 3 people trying to get you to spend money, You got wrenches all over the place. You can't even walk down the hall without having hitting into a wrench and going into a briefing, and I heard CCHR wrenching, and I heard, well, that was at the Psychbuster conference. All right, back at the first, I did the Psychbuster conference later on. I was in that thing. I was one of the few invited.
Let's stay on the
Okay, but there were people who wanted. At that time, they were talking about the ship project. There was no ship then.
What year?
Current physical time. So part of my handling was to go through and physically destimulate every lifetime that occurred on the chronological time track between that life and this one, which is why I had to complete those pretty severe incidents in Europe. But certainty. There's no doubt in my mind.
Tell me a little bit about the dynamics and the importance to mankind of clearing the planet. I mean, what?
This is the source of the truth, but what is the source of the meter? And it all comes down to the first incident on the track. So, all over the planet Earth, all over every universe, and every thought that they have.
See if they get into the,
No matter what happens, with some of the flubs that occurred and some of the things that the level execs at Flag, about a major project. Do you know anyone else who could possibly have cleared half the planet and who will with this book? Do you know anybody else who's going to clear half of Earth? No. But this book's going to do it with or without Scientology. The greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics right now, believe it or not. Believe it or not, the greatest good is, even if Scientology declares me to be his SP, I'm still going to wear my hat. And I'm still going to be a Scientologist, and Ron is going to be proud of me. Because no matter what happens with some of the flubs that occurred and some of the things that I did in not following my ethics handling correctly, and I admit them, I write up my own OWs now. You know.
With that in mind, with keeping in mind the importance of what you're doing, let's just think of that and hold it aside for a second. And if you would tell us about the various contacts that Scientology has had with you after your arrest and what it is that you've been instructed to do. Can you tell me that story for a few minutes?
Yes. I've been instructed to do an EOC, which is an end of cycle, meaning kill myself, suicide.
When were you first instructed to do that? Tell us what happened after you were arrested and then released on bail.
Okay, well there's the notes right there.
Just tell us about it.
Why do you have those notes?
For you.
Okay, I asked you to do this one.
Yes, you did. After when I was arrested, I tried to call Ray Jordan from the wouldn't accept the call. Well, basically, in a nutshell, without going through the 12 pages of notes there, Int management now feels their position right now is that I could cause Scientology a greater embarrassment than I could possibly do good for them. I disagree with that position. They feel that right now, because I've been arrested, and because there's a flap about this class action lawsuits, that I could cause them the greatest harm rather than the greatest good.
This is what you were told?
Yeah, I was told that by Humberto Fontana, the DSA Miami. No Int management execs have contacted me since this arrest.
Let's see if it talks about it a little bit more, and then I'll go ahead and wrap it up because it's getting. Should have done a live stream again. I didn't know it was going to be this long.
Hey, I am doing a live stream.
When I was arrested?
No, where you were when the last interruption happened.
No.
Where you were in this, we were talking about.
No. Do you know, Barry?
Yeah, I think you
talking about Ray Jordan. Conversation with Ray Jordan.
Okay. So I tried to call Ray Jordan initially, and he refused to accept my call. And after I was arrested, there were various calls from different people. Mark Witt's call was probably the most upsetting because he didn't leave many alternatives as a handling for this situation. See, I felt that when I was arrested, that Int management would send their attorneys immediately to help me, you know, because when I came out of the airport and I was arrested by Bill Kemp, and first the customs agents grabbed me. And I said, "Are you sure it's me you're looking for?" I couldn't believe it. It was like, why? You know, do you know my name? I kept on asking, do you know my name? And they said, yes, we do. I said, what is my name? And I couldn't believe that they were arresting me. I couldn't understand why. And the first thing that went through my mind is maybe they knew about the driver's license that Frank Thompson let me use, which was for Robert Walker, the one they made up at the ethics office. I said, but why would they be arresting me for that? I said, maybe it's illegal to have another driver's license. And it wasn't until Kemp gave me the complaint in the office at the airport that it hit me what was going on. And even so, I didn't understand what the complaint was for. Or what was it for? Because it said Larkspur, California, and I didn't know. I was never there. I didn't even know where Larkspur was. And of course, he wanted to ask me questions, but I didn't have an attorney, and my father was there, and he told me not to answer any questions unless I had an attorney, so I didn't say anything. But on the way to MCC, where he took me, I was trying to explain to him that it was important that we met because he could do something about the AIDS virus. I was trying to explain to him about the caffeine. Remember the other day he mentioned that he had communicated the information to the other agents. But I said to him, that's the real main reason why we met, because you don't have this data. And it's vital that you do, because people are dying. And I explained it to him, you know. But
let's keep this principally to the story that begins with the first suggestion that you do an ethics cycle. Those are the parts of it, and everything that follows from that is what I'm principally interested in this question.
Well, I asked what was going to be done now about my mission, my purpose, my goals, and I was told that it would have to be put on hold, and that it couldn't be done. And I said, what do you mean it couldn't be done? How can you not clear half a planet? You know. Anyway, two people in the Miami org explained it to me. First was Mark Witt. When it really came down to it, he told me that what they would do for me in doing an end of cycle, it'd be a fair exchange. And they would guarantee me safe passage through the Between Lives area, where I could come back in a Scientology Sea Org family and have my full bridge paid for, which is what I was trying to do now. And there would be no doubt that I could go to full OT8 or whatever the level was, but I had some other data and I questioned it. The data was the fact that when you return, you could do a shift in time and I could wind up in the year 1200. What guarantee could there be that I would come back in a Sea Org family right now in this time period? And it's sort of, I detected a little bit of like over the phone, you know, in your TRs, you drill on knowing a person's reaction. And I detected a little bit of like Q&A and back off with Mark Witt, that he didn't really have an answer, but he came up with an answer. But I didn't really know if it was the real answer. But it might be. He said that regardless of the way the Between Lives area works, we have tech to bypass it, to get you through it and deliver what we promised.
See, and the people telling him this, like, that we'll bring you back and you'll be in a Sea Org fan. They don't believe in it. They're like, he'll be dead and it'll be okay, you know. But he's like, oh, well, they're telling me they can, you know, they have tech to bring me through the second life or whatever. That's crazy. And then there's some more about, like, they sent him poison and told him how to take it. Like one of the ladies in higher up management. But I think I'm going to go ahead and end it there, guys. If y'all want to watch the rest of this interview, I don't know. Y'all might not want to. It is pretty weird, but I did want to show it because it's just so mind-blowing how compliant some people can be. And when they get into something, it's like it consumes them, consumes their mind, and just, you know, turns into this. And then he doesn't seem like that dangerous of a person, but you could get some people who would kill because they believe that, you know, it's their duty as a Thetan and it can, you know, clear the planet or something like that. So, you know, it kind of all comes in. I know I was kind of going around to a lot of information today, but I hope y'all got something out of it. We do need to kind of look into Scientology and its parallels, like fair game parallels, and also mind control parallels, controlling people in large groups, which I think that, you know, it's sometime maybe, you know, maybe before L. Ron Hubbard died, he actually did work with the DOD on this, or gave them information or something like that, and that's why the church survives till today. you know, because they had some kind of use for some of these agencies that are actually doing this to us. But okay, I might, you know, I might do one more video or something. Scientology is kind of one of those car wrecks that you know, it's like it's really, it's horrible, but you can't look away. It's one of those things for me. And I've just been, you know, trying to look for something that can keep my attention. It's just like, wow. So I wanted to turn that into something productive and put it out. And I've, you know, you can see the parallels with our situation. You know, and you can just see how, crazy. I'm not talking about targeted individuals' beliefs, because we just have something happening to us. But people doing this have crazy beliefs that can be very, very destructive, and their, you know, policies or their programs of psyoping and torture, you know, can be so destructive. Like, I can barely think. But all right, guys, yeah, I'm getting tired. I got a headache. I'm gonna kind of listen to Dave Case's CD, and then hopefully I'll make another video, maybe do a live stream soon, and go through maybe go through some more stuff about Scientology if y'all want to do that, or kind of move on to other areas of the subject of targeting. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please, if you think I'm getting good information out there, please like and subscribe my videos so we can get these targeted individual videos up in the algorithms as much as possible. You know, YouTube's kind of cutting down on any kind of alternative news that's important. They want to put that down, and they want to put mainstream media. So YouTube has a lot more control going on nowadays. But I hope this got y'all some good information, and I will see you on the next one. I love you guys. I hope you're relatively comfortable. And I've been putting off that transcranial stimulation thing, but I'm going to try and work on that some more, and finding one. I think I found one, but I'm just like, oh, it's $300. All right, guys, I love y'all. God bless y'all. God protect you. God protect your families. There are miracles coming our way. I know it if we just believe and keep going. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. I love y'all. All right, guys, I think that did it. I think I cut out what was giving me the copyright strike and making my video basically, nobody could see it. Is my mic on? It says the mic is off. Okay. Okay, the microphone's on. Oh man, that would have been great if the whole time y'all couldn't hear me. Oh wow. Okay, now I'm really tired, guys. I gotta go walk the pooch, and get something to eat. I really love y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up so I can go eat and walk my dog. I think I spent like 6 hours getting this video out. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all got some informative information. And I love you guys. I'll say it twice. I'll say it after the morning Kyle said it. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay.